And we're back. Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome to Real WW Talk. I am Erin.
I'm Candice.
And I'm Rikki.
Ladies, it is so good to see your faces.
Yes.
Reunited and
It
it
feels
feels so
so
good.
good. Hey.
It's been a minute since it's been all three of us.
I know. It's
Yes.
so good to be together.
Yes. Well, let's get caught up. Candace, you name who goes first, okay?
Oh my gosh.
Actually,
So
I think you should go first. I'm gonna usurp you. I think you should go first because I think everybody wants to know how you're doing
yes.
and where we are in the journey.
Well, hello. It is great to be here. I think, well, we didn't film last week, but I was here the week before. Since I've seen you last, I have started chemo, and I am so thankful that my side effects have been minimal. The prayers that you all are doing is working. So I am feeling good. I don't have to do chemo again until the 24th. So I'm just kind of riding the wave right now in between. Been walking. I shared on our Facebook group that I've been getting my 10,000 steps. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I hit 40 pounds down. I hit 40 pounds down, and my girls weren't with me. Erin and Rikki weren't in the meeting room when I hit it. But I got my little charm, and everyone who knows me knows I love my charms. So I was so excited about that. That was a really big motivator going into the chemo, because I think I told you they talk about the fact that you can gain weight. And I'm determined now to not through anything drastic, but just by doing what I've been doing to keep my healthy habits. So feeling good, drinking my water, and just super, super thankful for another day. So yay, that's me.
Congrats.
That's amazing, Candace. I love that you've made the decision to go through this journey as the healthiest Candace possible, mentally and physically, emotionally, all of it. Because I know we're talking about like the physical aspects of everything you're doing, but as hard work as you're putting into the physical health, when we talk about WW, we've got all of the different pillars, right? It's not just food, there's mental that goes along with it. And, when we all took our health assessments, right, they gave us some pillars to work on. I think all three of us had the mental pillar was like,
Mhm.
y'all need some help.
Y'all need some real WW talk. Y'all need to talk to someone.
But you've also been really active on working on the mental side as well.
Yeah.
What is that type of, I would say, mental fitness? How's that looked for you?
I think that's been a little tougher. I've been very much a person who's used to doing for others and not being done for, and having to reach out and accept help and to be vulnerable during this journey. This new journey that I'm on it's been tougher because it's required me to go outside of what has been my norm. When you're dealing with something that's as huge as this, you can't kind of default to your normal ways of being. And not, like you said, not just with physical, but more with the emotions that come up every day. I mean, I have different emotions every day. Some days I'm processing quite well. Some days I need support. Some days I need to vent. And knowing that it's okay for me to need that space and to need that support is something that I haven't quite fully mastered, but I'm getting better. So I was sharing with the ladies before we got on that's something that even with, Erin and Rikki are some of my dearest friends, and I still have struggle with wanting to reach out and to say, I'm having a tough mental day today. Like today, I'm feeling unsure. I'm feeling like I need this support and not wanting to burden them. So I'm a work in progress in that area, and I'm sure it'll get challenged more and more as the weeks come along. But yeah, that's where I am mentally.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's good because we know where you are and what you're working through.
Yeah.
Um,
But what about you guys? Like, I know that it's been a lot going on, the weather's changing and starting to we're supposed to have a really bad storm sometime today, but Erin, I think you went out and got your walk because you're the next person up. How was
I got my walk in, and let me tell you, all of the trees are blooming, and I've got the allergy thing going, but there is some It's a blossoming weed of some kind, and I think it's just detrimental to call it a weed because it smells so beautiful. I actually pulled part of a branch off to carry with me as I walked because I'm like, I cannot get enough of this.
Oh.
So if someone's starting a walking program or, you want to start being consistent with it, now is a great time because there's so many beautiful things to smell in the air right now. Oh my goodness. If you live, well, and I'm kind of this little bit of suburb, little bit of city kind of thing going on. It's glorious.
But I was a little worried. She sent us a text message with this picture of her with this flower in her face. And all I thought was, please don't be allergic to that. Like
I
all
know.
I was thinking is her taking this big whiff and then coming on Real WW Talk with like outbreak. You're good for the moment, but you look great. So it doesn't seem like you had a reaction.
No allergies. All good. All good. So I've been I would say maintaining and down a little bit, which has been great. And really, I've been working on consistency and discipline have been my mainstays. We celebrated the launch of a really big project at work, the thing that I have been working towards, and oh, it feels so good to have that launched. But what I should have remembered is that there would be follow-ups and cleanup after that. And so it wasn't like truly like check mark done and on. There were some residual things. So still working through some of the residual pieces of that. But all to say, um, I've got a little bit more margin now, and having that little bit of margin feels really good. I'm going to be traveling in 2 weeks. So, we had talked about like, where do you want to be 3 months from now? And I'm kind of about 2 months in from that. And I feel really good where I am. Like I have stuck to what I said that I wanted to do was maintain and lose a little and continue to be consistent with my food habits, continue to be consistent with my walking habits. And I have. And I love that. And I know that I am going to be going away on this trip. The other part was that I want to be proud of myself when I go away on this trip. And I know that I will be. My clothes fit me in a good way. And I've got some new clothes that just came in because I was like, I'm trying to find some shirts, something without puff sleeves and prairie feel to it. Like I love Little House on the Prairie and I love Anne of Green Gables, but I really don't want to like mash those fashions together. And if you go into Target right now, that's what's out there. And let me tell you something, 6 feet tall, broad shoulders don't look good with puff sleeves and calico prints. Okay. That's not it.
It's like, don't set us up. Don't touch yourself up.
So I need to wear clothes that I've had in my closet for a while that I hadn't been able to wear. Like I need to dip back to the past 5 years. So I feel good though. I feel good. I can wear these shirts and I'm not going to be embarrassed. Lord have mercy. So
ready for shopping in the closet. That's good.
Yes,
That's
shopping in the
always
closet is
fun.
amazing. And y'all, let me tell you something. I put on shorts. I had to go through the shorts because I'm going to Florida and that's going to be hot. Now I can't wear shorts at the conference, but one day we're going to Universal and
Oh,
then
fun.
right. So we're going to have some things we're going to be doing outside, but I'm like, I got to put on shorts and my shorts fit and I feel really happy, right? Like awesome. And I got my spray tan stuff. So your girl's going to be golden and glowing all the way around.
Well,
Rikki, she's going to be our complexion by the time she gets back.
I know.
I will. Let me tell you something, because I'm going to tell you something. The cellulite does not look good this color. Okay. It needs a little something added to it.
Well, what about you, Rikki? How about you? How was your week?
My week's been okay. The week before last, I had results from my doctor. Nothing, major, but I did have blood work come back. And as some of you guys may know who are listening, I have been pre-diabetic before. And this past year I was not. But then I had blood work done this year. And not only am I back in the pre-diabetic range, my cholesterol was high, and it's just a reflection of me. I think the way I truly have been eating, and I had a come to Jesus moment. I talked to Aaron last week, even though we didn't go live, and just had a heart to heart about how I haven't been truly respecting myself and treating myself with love as far as what I put into my body, and that's been a long trend of habits that I'd say that have contributed to me not being successful with the program. I even was having a moment of like, oh, should I even be sticking with this? I'm not, but when I'm not truly doing the program, I can't blame the program for not working. So that was me last week, just kind of having this come to Jesus, like get my act together moment. I think I am a self-professed carbaholic, and it shows in my diet and in my potential health concerns now. So for me, it's been trying to research and like numbers as far as like what does a diabetic have as far as the number of carbs or sugars per meal. Um, how can I decrease that and also decrease the cholesterol in my diet? And one of the biggest things, I know Sciat Fitness happens to be saying this a lot lately, but it's just walking is the most underrated activity. So I've been trying to get out there and do something a little bit every day. Um, so that's kind of where I am. I think I have had a lot of disappointment in my lack of progress over the past year and or years. And it's coming to all together now because I think it's confidence. The hugest thing for me is this cycle of like, I think I can do it. Let me make a change, go through that change for a week, feel disappointed that it's not happening as fast as I want, fall back into old habits, feel bad about myself, and the cycle continues. So, I know that was a loaded answer, but I was down this week, and I'm just continuing to fight to make better choices. But it's a fight every single day and every single minute of every day because I'm constantly craving sugar. I'm constantly craving carbs. And I've had these habits of eating out for years. Like this goes back to childhood of being rewarded with McDonald's. And it's hard to break. It's very hard to break. But I ate at home every day last week, which for me was a win. So,
Wow.
But
yeah.
Rikki, oh my goodness, like if I could not be more proud of you, like one, the fact that you know me, the fact that you went towards the information, that you went
Mhm.
and got the blood test and went to the doctor, that's the first win. Secondly, that you are being honest. I hear so much honesty in how you're processing. I'm not hearing excuses and, oh, it's this. I'm hearing like this is full on accountability of what I'm struggling with. And we've seen the posts, not just in our Facebook group or in the meeting room, of people saying exactly what you say. Like, this is not just you who has this struggle. I mean, I think that I hope that you can feel, how much strength there is in you being able to just share your honesty, and how many people will be blessed to know that they're not alone in this. It's a tough thing, and carbs are for who doesn't love a carb? But when you're able to say, what can I do to try to get myself back into a boundary that's going to give me health and give me life? Um, you know, I just wanted to commend you on sharing that and being authentic, because I know that that's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
And Candice, I love what you just said there. What can I do to get myself back into a boundary that gives me health and life? Because carbs aren't the problem, right? Our body needs carbohydrates. Diabetics need carbohydrates. That's just how our body processes. But it's the amount, right? And it's the kind that we utilize to fuel our body. And we all know, we've talked about this on our journeys. It's how we use food in a way that we're making food a solution to something it's never been a solution to. And because these are habits for us, like you said, Rikki, that go back into our childhood, we're trying to undo decades worth of coping mechanisms and expecting that 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, we're suddenly going to undo these years. And it takes consistent work, consistent habits for months on end. And I think that's a hard thing for us to process, is that this is going to take months on end. But when we set ourselves up to go, okay, well, yeah, it might be months on end, but we're looking at a future that's actually longer than what it took to build these habits, our perspective changes, and it's just trying to change change our perspective around it. And I hear that in you,
Mhm.
Rikki. I know that's what we talked about too, was is value for ourself, and um, learning to love ourselves kind of as we are, and learning that we are valuable people as we are in this moment, and treating ourselves with the love and respect that we deserve. And frankly, even in the moments where we don't we don't do that, maybe it's we're drawing on the strength of someone else. Because if Candice and I, we talk about the friendship, if Candice and I were there, like, what would Candice and Aaron want from me right in this moment? Even though I don't
Mhm.
want it, would Candice and Aaron want this for me in this moment? Yes, do it. Do
Mhm.
that, Rikki.
Well, so I have to have that image in my mind of like, oh my gosh, what if they were here? But one thing that I did do last week was I told my coworkers, because my biggest challenge is the evenings, usually going home, wanting to pick something up. But there's also plenty of challenges at work with, staff lunches, with candy that'll be left in the staff lounge. So I told my coworkers, and one of them was like, "Okay, what do I need to do? How can I help you? How can I best support you?" And I'm like, "Just give me a heads up if there's something in the lounge, or like make eye contact with me if I'm reaching for a cookie." Not to say that I can't ever have a cookie, but a lot of times that's an unplanned impulsive thing if it's something that's just lying around, and it might be something that I need to say, "Let me think about this."
Mhm.
So that's what the first thing that I did,
Mhm.
and I think that's helpful.
Rikki, I
Using a
love.
tool. You're using a tool,
Yeah.
and to help you enforce a boundary that's important to you, until maybe you make it to a point where you don't need that friend to do it. But
Mhm,
I love that you're saying, for this moment, this is something that you can do to support me. They've asked you, what can I do to support? And you gave them a directive and gave them an
mhm,
actionable item that they can do to be supportive.
Mhm.
mhm,
And, I think the challenge for me sometimes is when I don't want to be censored. It's like, I don't need you to
Right,
tell me that I can't have that cookie. I'm on WW. I can have whatever I want. But
right.
but knowing that they understand the bigger picture, that you've shared with them what your ultimate goal is, will
Mhm,
serve you better long
Mhm.
term. So I think that's wonderful that you were willing to again be vulnerable and put yourself out there for them to be able to support you.
Mhm.
yeah.
Could we actually, like, kind of pause and hover around that? Because I just started thinking about this as we were talking a little bit earlier, is about asking for what we need. Because Candice, you brought that up when you were, talking about some of the vulnerability right now is being scared to ask for what you need. And Rikki, you plunged in and said to a friend what you needed. And I feel like that's so applicable. It's so applicable to our health journey. It's so applicable to our emotional and our mental health as well. Because to me, there are a couple different things that are wrapped up in asking for what we need. There is fear of rejection. There is fear of being assertive when we haven't previously been assertive before. There is what else is in there with it? There are a lot of things to me, that different types of fears that are wrapped up in asking for what we need, and also just being unsure of setting boundaries.
Mm,
Right? And maybe previously, I think part of, at least for me in my weight journey, things that I've noticed is that and I've said this before, I have very poor boundaries. I have
mhm,
very poor boundaries with myself when it comes to what I would allow or be acceptable, or I would say, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to eat pizza for a week. I'm not going to stop and get fast food every day. And then I break my own boundary. I'm not being honest with
mm.
myself. So, when it comes to asking for what we need, have you guys found that asking for what you need maybe starts with yourself first, like an honest conversation with yourself before it goes outside of you?
Yeah, I think for me, it definitely starts with myself, and it starts with feeling with worth.
Mm,
The self-worth, feeling worthy of the ask. I
Mhm,
think that I've always had that as a challenge. Is I've always felt like others, I understood others asking for what they needed and doing what they need, because I always see the worth in others, but I've never seen it in me so much. Um,
mhm,
and that ties into choices that I've made in the past that may not have benefited me. Because I never was able to see myself the way that others saw me, or even the way God saw me. Like I never placed much value on me. And when I was in therapy eons ago, probably I'm going to be getting back into therapy soon, with everything going on. But one of the things that she always said is, why is it I would only do things if it were to benefit others.
Mhm.
If there's a change I needed to make with my weight or with something, if you could tie it to somebody else benefiting, I was more apt to try to do it. But if it was just me who stood to gain, I wasn't able to make the change. And so I think even asking for what I need means that I have to feel that I'm worth the ask. And that is a really kind of muddled, hard thing to kind of grasp when you've struggled with self-esteem for a variety of reasons throughout your life. And I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, but that's something that it starts with self-worth for me.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, Candice. And I think what I've noticed is sometimes it goes like it involves knowing myself so well that I've had to put up like these support systems or things in place so that I can protect myself from myself. It's almost sometimes it feels like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And it's like I've had to say, for example, my mom can be someone who can be a great advocate, but also someone who would also enable. So, for example, like if we are going to meet up and she's like, I'm going to Starbucks. Do you want anything? Oh, yeah, get me a cookie and a Frappuccino. Well, I know that for me, that's too many points. That's too much sugar. So I've had to say in the past, I know sometimes I might want these things, or I might ask you to buy this. I need you to say no. Or not ask me at all. And I'm saying that in the moment where I'm strong enough to say it, when I know that if it's an impulsive time, I may not be as strong to say, no, I don't want anything. Or I want a banana, like, or something different. So I think sometimes it does involve protecting myself from myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, I so identify with that. Do you guys remember when I used to practice like donut sobriety? Do you remember? Oh, that's what I called it, was donut
Yeah.
sobriety. And then
Mhm.
I also would have like fast food sobriety is what I would call it,
Mhm.
because those were just landmines
Mhm.
for me. And I knew that if I would, oh gosh, I remember the days where I would go get Burger King, and then I would go get Wendy's right behind it because they were right there.
Mhm.
And I can't explain the hunger that was inside of me, and it wasn't necessarily food hunger, it was a mental hunger that I was trying to get some kind of a dopamine hit, and then I would go in and, like, I would go get donuts, and I would get, like, half a dozen donuts, and I would say, "Oh, I'm taking them back to the office." I would take them back for people at the office, and, like, I might name, "Oh, yeah, well, this person wants this, and this person." Those people don't even exist, and then I would go get in my car and I would just eat the donuts because I was trying to use food to solve a problem that wasn't hunger.
Mhm.
And it was an emotional hunger that I was having. And that was the quickest fix that I could find to make myself feel better, even though it made me feel better for 5 minutes. And if I'm really honest, it didn't really even necessarily make me feel better. It just gave me, it was like a drug. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's the only way I can explain it. It was like a drug moment where it's like I had this little bit of temporary relief, and then all of
Mhm.
the shame came crashing in.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I get
I'm just
caught in
annoyed
that.
that you talked about your donuts. I did a whole cake and made it out to somebody else. I had it say, "Congratulations, Nicole," and
Right.
there's no Nicole. So
Oh,
I
okay.
got
Well,
you beat.
now that we're sharing, I don't think I've shared this one before. I have gotten a Happy Meal. As you know, I do not have a child yet at this point in my life. I've gotten a full meal and then been like, well, I want, like you're saying, Aaron, I want more. This isn't enough. I've gotten the Happy Meal. Like, oh, yeah, I'll get a girl. Yeah, because I've got a girl. Give me the girl toy. Just so I had my little extra food on the top to help fill that void that wasn't going to be fulfilled by food, but I just felt like I needed to have more.
Right.
Yes.
So all of those to me go back to the asking for what we need And sometimes that's the accountability, and even just doing what we just did there is share it with somebody. And I think
Mhm.
that's where, like, our WW meetings are so important, because those are safe spaces to share when something like that happens, because you're going to be with people who understand it. The three
Mhm.
of us haven't ever really talked about that with one another before, but all of us have just done this, right? Like, we've
Right.
loosely mentioned it, but
Mhm.
like, I talked about my donut sobriety because I wanted accountability with others, that I have a problem here with this and I'm using this to solve an emotional situation. But I never actually really dived into why it was donut sobriety. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm eating too many of these. No, it's way more than I'm eating too many of these. Right. But I asked for help and was accountable to our WW community, our Saturday morning WW community, because I knew that I would come back that next week and somebody would ask me about how my donut sobriety is. I gave permission to people to hold me accountable.
You were vulnerable, and vulnerability is a part of what's required sometimes when we are asking for what we need, and something that I never wanted to do, because when you are vulnerable, you do open yourself up to those who may not respond in a way that is productive for you.
Yeah.
Who may say, "You did what? How many cupcakes? How many donuts did you have? You
Oh,
made a whole
okay.
cake to yourself. You were out of control."
Mhm.
Now, do people ever actually do it the way that I just did? No. But you may have the person in the corner who has the shocked face. We have those,
Mhm.
and you're like, I don't need the judgment, but that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you still don't push through to
Mhm.
get you felt the need to share because you needed the support
Mhm.
to be able to do something that's going to be good for you, and you deserve that. And it's like not allowing that detractor or whatever could
Mhm.
possibly happen to get you off, to make you think you made a wrong choice.
Right there, when I talked about fear, the fear of vulnerability is one of the things that keeps us from asking for what we need.
Well, I think one of the things is too, we don't prepare ourselves for how we're going to respond when someone does give us the accountability. Like I was just talking about with the coworker. If I really decided I want this cookie, I don't care. I'm going to eat it, even though I shouldn't. I put that in quotation marks. I shouldn't eat this cookie. I have to be prepared that somebody might call me out on it, and I probably will get angry. I might get angry, or I might be like,
Mhm.
man, I can't believe they did that. But the problem isn't them, and it's not it. The problem is that I'm feeling insecure about a choice that I'm making, and in the moment I don't want to be stopped.
Mhm.
But I've already set up this support system that's helping me. And in the long run, I'm going to feel better that I didn't eat that cookie if that's something that doesn't fit into my day.
And knowing that you're going to be judged, honestly, no, there's no getting around it. Like, whether it's in the meeting room, people, we're in a, it's the world that we're in. You can't control other people and how
Mhm.
they respond to what are your wants or needs. And I think that that's something that I've tried to do for a long time, is trying to be emotionally intelligent enough to analyze and overanalyze what someone may or may not do and how they may or may not respond to what my needs are. And it is one exhausting to try to figure out other people and what makes them tick. Um,
Mhm.
and two, it's defeating the purpose, which is I know what I need, and my need matters more, respectfully, than their opinion or what they think. And so it's not productive, because if I figure out how to say it in a way that Rikki likes but Aaron doesn't, then I'm still losing. You know what I mean? If my goal is that
Mhm.
everybody's okay with what I'm sharing, or doesn't think that I'm trying to mooch. Because my biggest thing is I've never wanted to be viewed as um, trying to take, or being a taker, or trying. I don't want to be the person in the meeting room who's talking the most, who doesn't know how to be quiet. Like, Candice is always talking. It's always she's going to raise her hand. She got something to say. But what if I need to talk,
Mhm.
and that's
Mhm.
what the meeting space is for. I shouldn't let the fear of other people saying, gosh, would she just shut up, be the reason that I don't say what I need to say. but sometimes
Yeah.
that holds us back. It's just, I want to be, it's people pleasing. It's needing validation, being validated outwardly instead of inwardly. It's all of those things.
Mm-hmm. And when we speak up and say things that we need, one, it gives other people the opportunity to enter in. You know, people who love you, who want to be there for you, right? That's one thing. When you speak up and share, it also sheds light to other people who maybe are in the same space who have never shared before, right? Now, the three of us all just shared a food story, and chances are, you know, you're listening, you probably have one too, and you've just never shared it with anybody, right? But you found three people who have all done the same thing, right? And maybe that makes you feel a little more validated, a little less, uh, you know, like you're holding on to this big secret, I think, right? Because there are other people who share in this secret.
Have you ever had somebody, okay, this
Do it.
but have you ever had somebody out you, like, this is an example of, I thought that I was hiding from people with my thing. Like, I wasn't going to put out in the meeting room that I needed help with not ordering Chinese food. But the Chinese food lady, have you ever had the lady out you on the phone because they hear your voice and they know you? So, like, I called and I was like, hi, I'd like to get the shrimp egg fouillon. She's like, yeah, shrimp egg fouillon, white rice, this, just went through my whole order. Okay. And she's like, oh, yes, this go to this address. Oh, yeah. You called last week. I was very, very annoyed and disappointed at the judgment that I felt from being outed by. I was just wondering, it just hit me. Have you all ever had the person
Yes.
on the phone know you?
Because
And
for them, they're not outing you. They're thinking they're giving you great customer service, right?
I said, first of all, you could pretend that you didn't know it was me. Okay. Like, you take all my money, you can at least pretend. She was like, yeah, extra white rice on the side. Yeah, this sauce.
It was
I don't even want white rice this time. I want brown rice.
my girl at Wendy's. I can remember because I was like, okay, I joined WW and I was working hard on not doing the fast food thing. And I went and did the fast food and came back and I got a salad. They had like all these different, like this taco salad thing. And she's like, you got a salad? She's, girl, I haven't seen you in a long time. Are you okay? Is everything okay? And you're getting a salad. I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just trying to live a little healthier. She's like, okay, well, I missed you.
I missed you.
And that's my point. So even when you're trying to run away, people are paying
Right.
attention, people are doing things and listening. So
That happened to me with Starbucks. And I was at a point in my life where I was like, I like $5 a day for a coffee is not realistic. It's a waste of money. As much as I like the coffee, it doesn't need to be a daily thing. Well, I went into a Starbucks one day to get coffee and they're like, hey, Anita. And I'm like, oh, because they call me by my first name because when you got your star system, they've got your name and everything. And I'm like, oh, they know my first name. And I think I didn't come back for a while after that. I was like, I am known. I am known too well here. And that was a cue for me to take a bit of a break.
You know what? I think that's an important thing though to say. I mean, we're laughing about it being known in that way, but we are known that when we feel invisible, right? Those little lies that we tell ourselves that we're invisible and nobody knows me, nobody sees me. It's easy for me to hide. Like Candice, all the different times that you tried to hide and try to use different names, you were still known to WW. You were known by me unintentionally. I called you out unintentionally, right? And so maybe part of this too is dispelling the myth in our heads and the lies that we're telling ourselves that no one knows us and that we're invisible. We are not as invisible as we think we are.
And there's worth in your journey is worthy of being shared.
Yes.
You know, people deserve to hear. And so even when you feel like, and maybe that's again going back to Rikki, not putting you on the spot, but with earlier, I know that you had expressed to us, on the side, like, I don't want to share, certain things, but there's power in our stories and in our authenticity. And like you said, people are paying attention, not just because we're real WW talk, because you're in the meeting room, because you're who you are, because of how you're just living your life. People are interested, people are vested. And I think that we do a disservice, not only because we're not always doing things just for others or just to bless others or just to help others, but when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and to say what you need, there's somebody else who is also being freed, in my opinion, to let their vulnerabilities out and to say, this is what I've left the meeting rooms more times than I can think, going, gosh, I feel understood because Rikki said something in a way that I didn't know how to say. I didn't know how to put it into words, but when I heard it, I felt free. Like, oh, somebody else gets that it's not just the donut. It's not just the cupcake. This is tough. This is not just about the food. And that's why, again, the meeting room, like you said, is powerful, but also the ability to say, I'm willing to put myself out there and I'm willing to say what I need to get it's freeing. It really is.
And it also, Candice, I love the way you said that too, because it puts us in the position to be able to receive love. Love sometimes through help, right? It puts us in a position to receive grace from people, to receive that we're seen, to receive that we're known, to receive that we're valued by other people. Because those are lies that we will convince ourselves of, and that we will use food to try and make ourselves better. And again, if hunger isn't the solution, food isn't the problem. I feel like it always kind of keeps boiling back to this thing of, why is it that we're choosing to eat, right? It's because maybe we're scared and afraid of our value, and maybe we're even scared and afraid of who we could be if we didn't have this thing. Could you imagine that for yourself? If you no longer, like, a lot of times our weight struggle becomes our identity. But imagine that your weight struggle isn't your identity anymore. Who are you? And who do you want to be? And sometimes it's that fear of who I could become without this that feels equally as scary as staying where we are. But only one gives us life. Yes, go.
And there's a fear of, without this, what if I still fail? Like, what if I've said that being overweight is the reason I'm this or I'm that, or I haven't had success with this or that. But what if I lose the weight and I still fail?
What if you lose the weight and you don't?
Yeah, that's a better question to ask. It's a much better question to ponder, because I think that asking the question that way that I asked it is part of the reason why some days I don't try as hard as I could, or I feel like I've already failed, because I've told myself, what if I get to the end of my weight loss journey?
What
And
if I lose
still whatever, you know?
What if I lose the weight and still nobody decides to date me? What if I lose the weight and still I don't get to go do this thing that I've always wanted to do? I'm still too heavy to skydive. Right?
I
think
still have the loose skin and I still feel uncomfortable walking. Like, there's so many things that I could add to that I think have been fears that have held me personally back for so long. The loose skin, I don't have loose skin because I haven't lost the weight, but I have been afraid of what my body will look like after losing 100+ pounds for years.
But it's that same quote that I think I shared eons and eons ago, which is, it says, but what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?
Yeah.
What if you fly? And I think that it's not just food, but for me in my particular season of life, and it is relevant, is toxic strength, like the need to put off this image of, I'm strong. I don't need the support. I can do it all I can do it all myself. Don't worry about me. I'm not worthy of the prayers or this, like just I'll just do it, is a fear of being let down and being vulnerable and saying I'm letting go of the facade of just immeasurable strength, and I'm showing my vulnerability. And someone, to your point, people could let me down or they could really come through for me. And I think that it's being very intentional to choose to see that there could be a positive, a life-giving way that this could happen. It could be that you just get everything that you want, or at least a lot more than you thought. Like you said, Rikki, you may have loose skin for yours, or I might ask for people for help, and some people may say, I can't right now, or they could later. But are we still better for it? Because at least we tried. The biggest thing would be to not try and to have to live with the regret of not trying because you kept yourself encapsulated in fear.
And I think it's owning that we have so much to offer the world. You know, as each other's friends, we can call out those things in one another and see all the incredible qualities that each other has. That, man, if we just kept digging in, like, we know how amazing you can make the world with your gifts, right? And the gifts that we've been given aren't meant for us. They're meant to be shared. And if we're over here consistently thinking about a donut or consistently being tripped up by this, then the world is missing out on the bigger picture of you, Rikki, the bigger picture of you, Candice, right? And I like what I keep hearing for us is going back to, like, the root of this thing is fear. The what if is based in fear. And that's not to say what if questions aren't okay to ask, because I think they are okay to ask. They're okay because we take them and we address them. Well, what if? Well, what if we do? Right? We have to look at the question through the lens of hope as well. If we're willing to look at this question through the lens of fear first, then it's only fair that we look through it through the lens of hope as well.
But keep that. That needs to be like, I don't know how that's the title or something, because that is so important that if we're gonna say it again, if you're going to give the fear a credit or an ability to be a consideration, then you must give the hope the same consideration. That's like, I mean, it sounds so simplistic, but it's just, this is really hard to do. You have to be intentional to do it. Very big.
And it is okay. That's why I would just I want to be really clear to say that I think that it is okay to ask those what if questions, because you're never going to get the answer unless you ask the question, unless you kind of sit and look through that. But if you are going to look at it through a what if, through the lens of fear, you also have to look at it through the lens of hope. And only one of these is going to move you forward. One is going to move you backwards or keep you still. One of them is going to move you forward. And I think then the bigger question is, do I want to move forward or do I want to stay where I am? And if I want to move forward, then I need to start putting on my hope glasses more often and start looking them through the lens of hope instead of the lens of fear, because fear is always going to keep us where we are. It's going to keep shame right at the front and center. And it's going to keep us stuck. And that's where the tension lives. Tension lives in stuckness.
That's so deep.
It is.
You have to end it right there. That's
Mic drop.
Mic drop there.
That's it. Yeah. Look at all of the stuff that just bringing up asking for what we need. It's never, it doesn't feel as simple to ask for what we need. And I think that's all a part of why it's not as simple. It doesn't feel as simple, but it can be as simple as just literally saying, this is what I need. This is all the sub layers. But at the end of the day, asking for what we need on this journey matters. It is not selfish. It is creating a boundary for ourselves. It is creating permission with others and allowing them to enter in. It's taking away isolation and providing accountability and transparency and vulnerability where we need it, which are scary things. And that's what makes this real weight loss journey the thing that's going to change. And I think if we're still just focused on the number of the scale, we're not going to create a lasting change. It's when we enter into this space is where we're truly at the space that we're serious about living a different life. It's no longer just about dropping pounds. It's about creating life. And how about you? That's what I want. I want to create a whole new life because I don't want, this is not my identity anymore.
No.
And I'm very thankful that I have you ladies that I can be vulnerable and transparent with, who listen to me, who will call me out and hold me accountable. And I know that it's done with love and care because you see who I can be, you see who I am now. You know who I have been, and we've got that context and history together. And I'm very grateful for that.
Me too.
Me too.
Friends forever. Okay, never mind. I
By the bell.
always want to do a kumbaya moment. We always have really good ones.
I love it.
Great.
All right. I say we wrap it up. I know we went
Yes.
a little bit longer, but we also haven't been with each other for a few weeks and we were deep.
You
I
all
love it.
missed us. It was a few extra minutes. You're fine.
It's all good. It's all good. We'd love to hear from you. We have the Real WW Talk Facebook group that we would love for you to join. You just search Real WW Talk on Facebook, and shout out to our 3,000 members that are on Instagram. We just crossed over that number, and we know it's a number, but that's a full community. And gosh, that makes us so excited. So you can find us on Instagram. And then where else? YouTube. So if you want to see what we look like and you want to watch us and you want to know why, the lady said, Aaron, you're going to look like us after your fake tan. You'll know why. I'll go from vanilla to being a little bit more cocoa, maybe a little
caramel, a little caramel.
Yeah. A little caramel there, caramel. Jesus, please, just a little. And then you, of course, can pop us in your pocket and take us for a walk if you're building a walking habit. And that's you just search again Real WW Talk for the podcast. But we'll have everything linked up for you in the notes below. All right, that's it. Anybody want to add anything before I say sayonara?
That's it. See you next time.
All right. Well, we will catch you on the flip side, and we wish you a great week. And, if you are pondering that question about what you need and asking for what you need, we'd love to hear where you've come to. And if you need something, pop it in one of the groups and ask for help in one of the groups. Ask for accountability partner. Say what you need, and we guarantee you out of 3,000 people in this group, somebody will step up and say, I'm here for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a great week.
Bye.